In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane. Like I talked about in the beginning of the show, this is all about VR today. Now, before we bring on our next guest, let's just say I can be a jerk sometimes. I really can. You know, especially when it seems like someone is not listening to me, or someone may try to give me a lot of who shot John. And I'm really skeptical when it comes to businesses out there sometimes, especially in the customer service realm. But one thing I like to do is, after I may have to kick it up a notch, and I'm never rude with it, I ask a lot of questions just to find out, the answer to something, especially when it comes to spending my money or getting a service from someone. But what I like to do after the fact is to let the person know, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be a jerk. I was just, kind of frustrated. So please accept my apology if you have taken it the wrong way, or if I came across the wrong way. And that's something we all need to practice, especially when it comes to just treating people the way we want it to be treated. For instance, let's say if we did something wrong and someone had to check us. Isn't it nice to hear afterwards, I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to be mean or anything, but if I came across that way, please accept my sincerest apologies. I reacted that way because I felt that I wasn't being heard, or whatever the reason is. But that's something that we all can practice. I just had to do that like right now during the break. So if you're listening out there, I did apologize. So don't go to the Twitter and say that I didn't. If you did, I'm going to give you another nasty email. I'm just joking. All right. A little over a month ago, I went to CSUN at the Anaheim Marriott. It's kind of like a trade show or an expo for ones who are disabled, talking about assistive and adaptive technologies, and met some incredible people there. One of those incredible people was Larry Goldberg, who was over at Verizon Digital Media. He does the oversees, he's senior director over there of that department. And I had such a great time with Larry. He kind of let me know something that they were working on, which was VR, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. But I wanted to have Larry back to expound a little more about VR and what we have to look forward to, especially when it comes to assistive and adaptive technologies. Well, I didn't scare him away from our last conversation, and I'm so happy he decided to come back, spend some time with me. Larry Goldberg, Verizon Media. Larry, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Hey, Paul. So great to talk to you again, this time virtually, but it was really wonderful being with you in Anaheim a few weeks ago.
Same here, my friend. And that conference, CSUN, was just amazing. What you guys did with Verizon Media, the exhibit that you guys had at the bottom was awesome. What was some of the feedback you guys got from the community? I knew it was awesome.
Yeah. People loved it. It was sort of a bit of a coming out party because they hadn't seen us that way. People know about Yahoo apps and the work we do with Huffington Post and AOL. But we pulled it all together for the first time there. So you were one of the first to see it. And of course, that disability collection where no one walks away from that without thinking, mostly, wow, this should have been done a long time ago. And I'm so glad you're doing it. Putting the images of people with disabilities right up front in regular lives as real people.
Yeah, we're so happy that as a community that you are definitely doing that. And during the interview, you kind of teased me a little bit and you kind of piqued my curiosity. I was like, Larry, got to get you on real quick. Virtual reality. So virtual reality, when it comes to assistive and adaptive technology, it's really taking on a life of its own. I remember a few weeks ago, I did an article with Hollywood Reporter, and I kind of touched on virtual reality and that hardware being kind of something that that we're going to see when it comes to assistive and adaptive technology. And Larry, from your perspective, what are some of the things that are really going to just be at the forefront when it comes to virtual reality?
Yeah, it's such a great and promising technology. You know, it's been on the verge for so long now as a technology, and we don't want to be too far behind the curve to make sure that people with vision impairments, hearing impairments, physical impairments can participate like everyone else. We're pretty early stage right now in terms of developing some really interesting techniques, but the industry is coming together, and I'll tell you a little bit about a big convening that's happening this summer. But you go into a virtual world, whether it's a 360 video or purely animated avatars, and the same issues will come up as would come up with plain old linear video. If there's people talking, where's the captions? How do I find them if someone's talking behind me? How should those captions appear above my head, around me? And then for a blind person who may say, I don't have any need for this. There's nothing there for me. It's all visual. It's like, well, maybe we should talk about that, because there are some really rich educational, industrial, even retail commerce kind of applications that, you know, we really need to make sure no one's left out. So we think about, how are we going to provide descriptions of objects in a virtual world that you can't see but you want to know about? How do you trigger that there are sounds and sights all around you, virtually infinite numbers because you're in a virtual world? And we are gathering together a lot of really interesting partners to begin trying to grapple with these questions.
And you know what, Larry, you bring up a very good point as we are having our discussion right now. Those are things that I hadn't even thought of, because I look at it from a mobility kind of angle when it comes to virtual reality. But the vision and the hearing impaired out there who have these challenges, they need to have this type of technology there so that they can experience virtual reality the best that they can. And I'm so glad that you share that. And having these partners and everything to be able to be mindful of some of the challenges, was it easy for ones to come to the table and give you some of these suggestions, or is it hard to find ones who can speak truth to power when it comes to VR?
Well, I think we're lucky in that there's a lot of people in the field of accessible media and technology who are now involved with these new technologies. So we have sort of our embedded friends, and it's a great community to be part of. So I'll tell you about two conversations I had recently, and one of them is pretty amazing. One of the cool new technologies is called Magic Leap, and they've got a headset, and you can immerse yourself in these immersive worlds. They hired a full-time accessibility person, first of all the virtual hardware companies that actually have full-time accessibility. And so I applaud Magic Leap for that. And it's a guy who'd been involved in accessibility for years, original at IBM, so he knows his stuff, and Magic Leap made the connection. Now, on the other hand, on a giant company, Microsoft, they've got technology, HoloLens being one of them. And Microsoft's been dedicated to making their technology accessible for many years. So I reached out to the head of their accessibility group, and they said they're all in. They are already trying to make moves around this. And actually, they're saying, we need to get on it. It's not too late. It's never too late. But we need to get going. The new HoloLens 2 is coming out, I believe, in the fall. And we'd love to see some accommodations built right in.
And Larry, in for our last conversation we had at CSUN, we talked about what has changed when it comes to assistive and adaptive technology, that there's more awareness, that more are interested in making this a reality. Do you feel that it's picking up steam as we get deeper and deeper in the year, that this is something that's really a movement that can't be stopped and it's going to happen?
Well, you know, with people like you and me, Paul, we're not going to be stopped, so it almost doesn't matter. We're going to make this happen. But in fact, we're reaching sympathetic ears all the time. And there aren't too many people that I reach out to in any of these tech companies who may have never heard about these issues. What do you mean, a blind person in virtual reality? But it's never like, I don't want to take your call, or I'm too busy. It's more like, geez, I never thought of that. Yeah, I'd like to be involved. And so I'll tell you now, we're convening a symposium in July. It's going to be hosted by Cornell Tech, one of our university partners in New York City. And it's called the XR Access Symposium. And I think it's by invitation only. It's going to be oversold because everyone who's involved in this field who cares or doesn't even know about these issues are going to gather together in the room and talk about what we need to do together as an industry and as users and as academia to advance this question. And so we're getting support. I don't feel a lot of pushback these days.
I love it. And how important is it for therapists to jump on this movement and really look at the way technology can help them as therapists, whether they have clients or patients who are vision impaired, hearing impaired. How important is it for them to get into this conversation too and offer their insight?
Incredibly important. The applications, it's almost like dream it up. It can be built. I just saw a presentation today. I'm in Denver at a conference, the Online Learning Consortium, and I watched the people from Cal State Channel Islands show us how they use virtual reality for nursing students to give them empathy with their geriatric patients and older folks who have limitations. So the students are using virtual reality to better understand the kind of challenges their patients are facing. That's fantastic. And these are young people who are very open to considering the use of new technologies. When you and I last talked, you said you had the opportunity to experience being able to stand up and walk around in virtual reality. That must be a great feeling, the things you can do, the places you can visit. I've heard expressions of interest from people who work with kids on the autism spectrum to help them get socialized, or older kids, give them experience on doing a job interview in a simulated environment before they really need to go into a real one. There are so many applications. We're starting with the issue of let's make the platforms and infrastructure accessible. So when we build these really interesting applications, we can be sure that it can be used by everyone.
And Larry, what is the most challenging part of this endeavor? Because with anything worthwhile, there are some challenges and obstacles that have to be overcome. So what would be the major obstacle in just fulfilling this?
Well, we have to invent kind of the major challenge here is that this hasn't been done, and we don't necessarily want to follow the tracks that have been paved on mobile apps or online media or video. I think we need to invent some new approaches to making audio fully immersive, making video fully immersive. So a lot of this stuff doesn't exist yet. And we're going to need developers to come up with some brand new ways using tactile and 3D audio and different kinds of gestures that don't exist yet or need to be adapted from, let's say, the gaming world or other kinds of environments. So the challenge, but also the fun, is creating stuff brand new for this completely emerging approach.
And Larry, as a fellow technophile, as myself, we've seen things just happen over the years, and I sit back and like, wow, we have come so far when it comes to technology, especially when it comes to adaptive and assistive tech, that it's like a whirlwind sometime. And when you talked about ones with autism, I thought about ones with agoraphobia. If you put them in a VR and give them in short little spurts of interaction with ones that skies are the limit, my friend. And what you guys are doing over at Verizon Media is just truly amazing. Is there anything else out there as far as VR is concerned that we really want to highlight?
Well, everything that we succeed in, anything you've ever done, it's about collaboration with friends. So we see our opportunity here really is to connect people. We're not taking credit for anything here except for the fact that I got a big Rolodex, and I'm going to be reaching out and connecting people. And luckily we've got people, for instance, the Coleman Institute for Cognitive Disabilities at the University of Colorado, they're all over this. People at the hardware companies, people who've done work around captioning and speech recognition. So I think the real opportunity here is, and why I'm glad to be in the seat that I'm in, is that we have connections, and it's really up to us to use them for good.
I love it. I love it. And Larry, it's always great to get your insight on things, and I'm so happy that our paths crossed at CSUN, because your insight and what you guys are doing over there with the team is just jaw dropping. And I remember the last interview we did, and some of the feedback that I've gotten from listeners and viewers was like, I didn't even know, and it's good that we're able to educate ones out there, because when they think of VR, they just think of, oh, it's just about video games. No, it's about really enhancing the lives of those who have different challenges out there. And the relationship with Verizon and what you guys are doing is, I tell you, my hat's off to you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate being on the Tech Zone and helping spread the word with you. We'll work together on this. And the more people who say, oh, yeah, I know about that. We love raising awareness, but we also love having the knowledge embedded in people's heads.
Sounds good. So I'm going to let you get back to your conference, my friend, but thank you so much for joining me, and we'll catch up again, and you can let me know how everything is going. I want to talk to you before that conference in New York, too. I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Anytime you want me on, happy to participate. The conference is mid-July, so let's talk before then.
Sounds good, my friend. Once again, a huge shout out to my friend, Larry Goldberg, Senior Director of Accessibility Media at Verizon Media. I said it all right, but you saw me look over if you're watching it on the screen. Make sure I didn't want to mess it up. I really enjoyed how Larry shows insight when it comes to VR, with Verizon is doing, what we have to look forward to when it comes to VR. When we get back, we're going to continue our trend with talking VR with another great company. And this one is going to talk about using VR for working out, for therapy, for mental wellness. You name it, they're going to be joining me next here on the Tech Zone. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. Be right back after these messages.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.